Time to check in with State Representative Tacky Chan of Quincy for a Thursday edition of Tacky Talk this week, Tacky.
Yeah, it's Thursdays of Tacky as opposed to Tacky Tuesdays. But it's fairly consistent for the most part. We're in a T somewhere.
That's right. So, I don't think we've done it a Monday or a Friday. Probably not.
Probably not, but it was not out of the question. I'm more than happy to try to accommodate you, and we work hard in getting the schedule to be as much as possible weekly. Obviously, when we're on vacation, we're not online or something happens because news breaks for you and formal session for me.
That's right. We have things to do. Sit here and chat. Although it's nice when we can, for sure. And it's been a busy May, for sure.
Well, it feels like it. We discussed this multiple times already regarding how calendars work and it affects our psyche. I mean, it's 5 Fridays in May. So, and we actually had, I believe, 4 Mondays in April. I mean, 5 Mondays in April. So 5 Mondays in April, five Fridays in May kind of adds up. And it is May 30th because it's gonna, we're gonna say that anyway. But I mean, it is rainy today, but it's actually not wicked cold. It's in the mid 60s. So we had a mostly enjoyable Memorial Day weekend with a lot of warmth, and then we're back into the cycle of rain.
Yeah, thankfully the weather held out for the parade here in Quincy and the ceremony. And boy, the cemetery looks great.
Oh, I love it. I have to say, I very much encourage everyone to stop by or take a quick stop. The way they set it up by getting rid of that grandstand, concrete, granite, stone grandstand, was a really good idea. I mean, I understand the purpose of it. If you imagine back in like the 30s and, the whole street is full of people and you're using that as a podium, not necessarily for Memorial Day, for any purpose, right? It's a good podium for any purpose where you're speaking out to a crowd. Before we had loud speaker systems or good speaker systems, I can see how that would work. But I always found it very intimidating. It seemed like a peculiar way to put a monument with a kind of that stone grandstand as part of it. The flags were great, but it was kind of like a little awkward surrounding it as we put new flagpoles up over the many decades. And, personally speaking, standing up there it's awkward. After doing many Memorial Days there now, and I actually prefer actually standing on the grass next to the grandstand. So, this now gives us an opportunity to actually, be more spread out, much more visible to the public, and it's just warmer. I mean, in open space like that's warmer overall, and can truly appreciate all your monuments that have been set up. And the mayor's indicated there's going to be more coming up down the road.
That's right. Yeah. Speaking of veterans, I know that there was a major bill passed, some veterans benefits approved.
Yeah, the House did a veterans benefits bill over last week, and it's really some of it's new, many of it's old, some of it's reformed. So we'll touch on some of the many things in there. So, for example, we actually created another property tax abatement opportunity for senior towns to choose to do if they want to do it. It's not a mandate. So senior towns can choose to vote to expand the veterans abatement program to tie it to CPI and or increase the current benefit which you qualify for, because you don't always qualify for maximum benefit in the abatement program, by 100%. So, we create some new options for municipalities to decide of how they want to manage that abatement program. One thing I've been working on for many years, you can look up the bill, is the Gold Star Family's annuity increase. This was a suggestion from our good friend Larry Norden. I miss Larry a lot. Every day, actually, particularly this time of year where Larry doesn't mind giving me a little bit of public ribbing.
Yes, but he was devoted to the veterans for sure.
Yeah, those are always in good fun, and he never touched you in a way that was mean.
Right.
Um, so I really do miss him on a lot of levels. But he asked for Gold Star annuity increase. He's like, that's one area that's been very much ignored by folks, and I've been filing a bill for years to increase it from 2,000 to 2,500, which is essentially what, 20%, 25% increase. So
Mm.
in the bill they increased that plus for annuity for disabilities from 2,000 to 22,250 coming January 1st of this year, and they're going to increase it next January 1st to 2,500. So that's one win for me in the sense that I have a bill passed, even though it's not in the individual bill, it's part of a larger package.
Mhm.
So I'm very happy and appreciative of the chair of Veterans Affairs, Jerry Cassidy from Brockton, who's actually now moving on from legislature. This is going to be his last term. On allowing that with Aaron Merkel, the chair Ways and Means, and of course Speaker Mariano, who sets the agenda on the schedules. So thank you for that. Um, the Executive Office of Veteran Services is going to have expanded roles regarding consultation on things like medical assistance and other types of benefits. So we're going to expand the role some on that. We actually will also increase the tax credits for business to hire veterans from 2,000 to 2,500. Kind of interesting how those numbers work. So we do some stuff regarding veterans license plates. We do get some questions in the office about why do we have a fee for veterans license plates, and that actually fee goes to the soldiers' homes. It helps pay for the soldiers' homes. We are actually going to eliminate that fee and move to give people an option when they sign up for their driver's license. I'm sorry, the veterans license plate if they want to donate voluntarily to the soldiers' homes, up to a cap of $500,000 of collection, and then some of that will be supplemented by state tax dollars. The soldier home is a combination of state tax dollars. I do know there's some federal components to it. But I mean, the veterans have been supporting those soldiers' homes themselves through the veterans plates. So we do that stuff. And then we do a lot of like small adjustments. For example, like there's a veterans credit buyback service for state teachers and some municipalities and county systems for 4 years credit buyback. We adjust the notification system of 1 year to let people know that they can, if you are a veteran, to qualify. We try to streamline the definition of veteran. In this state, the definition of veteran is tied directly to being in a wartime situation or one day in a actual combat situation, even though you're not like being shot at per se, but you're in a combat zone. So the feds have moved the veteran definition a little bit. We've been moving it with the feds. It's complicated, folks. I mean, because obviously people that serve in the military, are veterans. However, a lot of our benefits, shift around depending whether you're combat or not. So we actually started streamlining the definition again to make it more like the federal definition. So this has always been kind of like one of the quirky parts of our statute regarding what is a veteran in the sense of whether you're a wartime veteran versus a non-combat, in combat veteran. So we try to streamline that a bit. So yeah, as you can hear, there's a lot of good stuff in there. I'm not going to go through it all because there's literally like 25 different items.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. The speaking of the soldiers' homes, is there different or better oversight now? After the debacle during the pandemic?
Yeah, as you all recall, believe it or not, Massachusetts Holyoke Soldier Home is the single largest location of COVID deaths in the United States.
Really?
Yeah, in one location, like in one structure.
Yeah.
Over 75, I think 75 plus, plus everyone literally in there, suffering from long-term effects, plus the staff. When we did the last COVID reform piece, as part of a larger spending bill, we did a lot of stuff regarding greater oversight over that. Had more actually oversight over the Director of Veterans Affairs, the
Mhm.
Executive Office of Veterans Affairs, how they appoint those directors, and bring them more line to some public health requirements oversight, because they are somewhat state controlled. We can add additional review requirements, from the various state agencies, not just the Department of Veterans Affairs, Executive Office of Veterans Affairs, and separately, we also did assisted living oversight bill as well for private sector run
Mhm.
facilities, and that was also stemming out the COVID situation. Although people was hyper focused on the news regarding the Holyoke Soldier Home, assisted living facilities around the state during COVID all were running to major infections of the census, upwards of 50+%.
Oh yeah, the old Quincy Nursing Home right here in Quincy.
The Quincy Rehab had a very high census death rate. So, assist the new assisted living oversight bill that the House passed and pending in the Senate, provides addresses a lot of those issues that we learned from COVID. While there are some limitations of what we can do, we're putting it into public health to give them greater teeth of the areas we can address. And we hope they'll not just address potential infectious disease issues, but also improve quality of life. And one of the things that Secretary Sudders did during the Charlie Baker administration was to change the number of people in a room. Like, it's almost like they're stacking people at one point. So, places like Quincy Rehab actually shut down. One of the reasons because they were unable to meet the minimum maximums, right? Maximum requirement of how many people are allowed in a space, based on the cubic square space of based on the square space of a room, they're going to have X number of people. So one of the reasons Quincy Rehab shut down is because they couldn't do it because the economics wouldn't work.
Right.
So yeah, so we've been busy. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like it all the time because the news doesn't report on things, but
Darn that news.
not that news. They kind of pick and choose the fun stuff.
I see the Senate also released their bill. Are there much differences between the Senate and the House versions? Do you know?
I haven't really looked at it right now, to be honest with you. I mean, the difference is, I'll be frank with you guys. I mean, the way the branches work is that we only get what we can put in front of us today. I don't worry about what the other side's doing yet. That's the
Sure. No,
chairman's
I understand. Yeah.
responsibility. So the chairman has to keep up with that part of within their purview. And secondly, it's all going to conference committee anyway.
Mhm.
So what happens is that once the Senate's done, put in conference committee, then we get out and advocate again with the conference committee members trying to either support a House provision or a Senate provision, or sometimes there's a compromise provision that's put out there by advocates and other groups, in parts of conversation, and we sometimes push for the middle ground. And we do it individually or as a group as reps and senators. So, right now I'm trying to survive my end of the world, not worry about their end of the world. However, once conference hits, that changes the ball game again for basically a third, fourth time, because you have the committee structure, and then you have to get past Ways and Means, then have the floor, then you have the other side, then you have conference, and then you got to be on the ball as kind of moving through once they hit conference. So it's I think people like undervalue the complexity of the process, and also the fact that we're not omniscient. We can't possibly know what every single thing is, but if you do this for a bit, the timing of when things happen and you live around it. And it's May 30th. I mean, the time crunch is on. I mean, this is not lost on me. I've done enough sessions in my life to know that time is running out. We're going to be in the just barely over 2 month zone. It's basically 32 days ish, give or take, 31 days ish, once we hit the month of June. So I'm sorry, 61 days ish, give or take. And we can come in on the weekend. We've done it before. It's not like it's impossible. But we're going to have a lot of conference reports coming out in July. Already told the staff not to do off-site meetings the last 2 weeks of July. Make sure all people visiting either is virtual or come to the State House that day as opposed to me going off-site, because I'm anticipating it could be a very unpredictable schedule going to the last couple of weeks. And
Okay.
it also gives me a very short window now to try to decide. Let's say economic development bond bills is in the process of still being worked on by my good friend Jerry Parasella from Beverly, who actually is office next door to me. And ironically, since the bond bill goes next door again to my other friend Mike Finn from West Springfield, and we all share the same suite. So this is one of the advantages of my office, because both chairs I have to deal with this have actually both sides of me in the same office suite. So
Well, logistically, it makes it easier. Just walk out your door and next door.
it is so much easier to see these two chairmen in my situation, so I don't complain. Conversely, if they got an issue, obviously they come right into my office, and I'm happy to chat about whatever they need to talk about. So, we're preparing, a combination of bills we can push right into the floor or attempt to amend an other bill that may be on the way through, just like I talked about the veterans bill. I'm very thankful that the committee had decided to include one of my bills as part of a larger piece. I will be making attempts to try to include more of my bills in other larger pieces on the way through.
Sure. Interestingly, the final price tag for both versions is the same, 57.9 billion. That obviously the breakdown, I don't know if it's the same or not, but the final number is the same.
Ironic how that works sometimes. Obviously, it'll be subject to amendments,
Right.
particularly the econ debo that's en route, but also be mindful that these are authorizations, not actual appropriations. So in the state, we can authorize the governor to borrow, but it is not a mandate to borrow. We also have a self-imposed, and it's been self-imposed, excuse me, self-imposed since the caucus administration, the internal bond cap, which is, I'm going to tell you, we need to ask the state treasurer because the number keeps moving with CPI, but I believe it's about $2.3 billion, somewhere in that zone, where it's not a statutory cap or constitutional cap. It's something we just practice on the state treasurer's office to ensure that we don't overborrow. And then, we do have a statutory debt limit, which is also tied to CPI as well. And I think it's some of the area of like well past $21 billion in total borrowing. We do exceed the cap for limited purposes. For example, your Chapter 90 money that city and towns get for bridge and road work that we pay for the debt is outside that bond cap. And even the authorizations are not infinite. The bond authorizations generally range from 10 years to 30 years. So, for example, the information technology bond bill we did 2 weeks ago is a 10-year authorization. There's some community components, which is less than $400 million. I don't think actually it's probably less than $150 million. I think about it. It has a 30-year bond authorization for some regional and local assistance programs. But it's a 10-year authorization. So once that authorization expires, the governor can't borrow using that, obviously. We can also choose to extend the authorization. We've done that before. You extend it by like 5 years. This is how the state constitution works. So people always, get us confused with the feds. We can't print money, right? It's not like the federal debt. We can't issue bonds to pay the operating costs. We have to do operating costs straight from cash. And as we talked before, not all my cash is our cash. The mayor's tax does not go to the general budget. The mayor's tax goes to education, transportation, which is a separate trust fund. The casino money goes to a separate trust fund. Yep. The marijuana tax goes to a separate trust fund. I mean, it's outside the general budget, and those trust funds are dedicated use. For example, if you have there's a healthcare related trust fund for casinos, one of the several trust funds, and that can only be spent on healthcare related issues, including things like compulsive gambling assistance. So yeah, it's not as simple as people coming home with a paycheck and you get a lump sum amount. It's picture it as you come home with your paycheck, but you have like 5 different kind of paychecks, and before you even get to deposit it, it's been taken away from you and put in different places you can't easily touch.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand. So, yeah, you have your property tax account, you have your utilities account, you have your food account, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and even your car excise taxes, right? And your gas taxes, those go to dedicated transportation trust funds. So you see in the budget line item, transportation trust fund, because that's the money that's got in there. And then, we see if we have to supplement the money of your state tax dollars on top of that, depending on our needs. We can also leverage some of those monies for federal grants because it's a dedicated revenue source. People like dedicated revenue sources if they're going to give you money. And Wall Street loves dedicated revenue sources because, if you're a bondholder, you want to get paid.
You want to get paid back, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're loaning me money, you want to know you're going to get your money back. I mean, this is common sense, everybody. This ain't rocket science. If you loan me money, I want some assurances you can pay me.
Right. Have the higher interest rates impacted the state's borrowing costs?
Yeah, it really does change how the state treasurer does the bonding process. Just because the governor says I want an authorization doesn't mean it happens immediately. The treasurer's office has to pick the right moment. So she has a whole division whose job is to monitor the bond situation and work with our various banks and to check our various ratings of Moody's and Standard & Poor's and many others regarding where we are, and then make the best decision possible on when to issue the bonds. And it's not always like perfect, right? I mean, it's all timing, and you can't predict the future. So you got to figure it out, and it's not an easy thing to try to pick the best rate because even those fractions of a decimal point matter, right? The thousandth of a point matters on these bonds because we're trying to keep the debt load low because the debt is under 5% of the state budget's debt driven, so that's just paying back old bonds. So and then if we did refinance when there was 0 interest rates. People forgot that. It was too hard to pass up for the state to say, look, you got 0 interest rates, let's trade out a 7% for 0% and reissue, right?
Oh
And
yeah, it's like refinancing your mortgage, for sure. Yeah.
yeah, and if you can participate as yourselves if you want to buy a state bond or municipal bond. I mean, it's so easy now. If you have any kind of brokerage account through Fidelity or Charles Schwab or Ameriprise, I don't think Ameriprise does bonds, but I mean, you probably could call them. Any number of brokerage accounts you could participate in, buying municipal and state debt and
Mm.
regional debt and authorities debt like MBTA and Massport and so forth. And one of the benefits is that if you actually buy a debt that's municipal, state, county authorities inside the state you live in, you don't pay state and federal taxes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of the reasons why it's often part of portfolios,
Mm.
including pension funds. They have a bond section, and the fact you don't pay taxes on it's an incentive. So when the interest rates isn't good as the Fed rate, they're not having to pay Fed or state taxes on that bond. Incentivize you not to not use corporate bonds or T bonds or T
Right.
bills, other types of bonds that are available out there. And
Yeah.
you know,
Interesting.
you can say you own a piece of the rock in some ways, right? So to
Oh,
speak.
exactly. Yeah.
So you're a Quincy resident, you buy some Quincy debt, and you have skin in the game.
Yeah, well, actually, interesting. I just read not too long ago the city issued $10 million in digital bonds. I guess the first municipality in the country to do that. I don't fully understand it myself,
I have
but
I have to admit, I looked it up. I don't
okay.
fully understand it
Oh,
myself.
good. I don't feel so bad then. Okay.
No, it's a very new product. It's not even a decade old. Very few countries around the world are using this type of debt, much less municipalities. What it seems to do, and I'm not sure how true it is because it's such a new product, is it actually reduces secondary market opportunity. So debt can be sold. So, I hold a bond and decided I need equity now. I can put the bond up on a brokerage firm and put a price down and see who wants to buy the price. And then, I would lose out on the future interest, but I need the money today. And this is part of how the bond market works. And like a bond auction, if you buy secondary market, you actually, you know what you're paying for. The price is in front of you, right? And
Right.
no one's buying my bond, then obviously I'm going to have to drop the price, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then you're the new bond holder. You get the remaining interest and the remaining time of
Hmm.
that bond, which is why people want to buy it because it's guaranteed money. But we have a bond auction. Who knows what's going to happen, right? It's to be honest with you, the mega banks are the ones who, that really they're the ones who drive the bond rate because they're the
Right.
mega banks, right? They're just the biggest buyer, right? Not you and me and our Peasly $100 at a time, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
So, or $1,000 as the case may be, or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be Peasly compared to the mega banks. So I'm not sure how this digital bonding would work in secondary market situation where, let's say, I'm a bondholder, I bought Quincy debt, I decided I need money now. How would I unload this bond? Unless I say I have a 10-year bond, for example, and like year 4 goes in, and I have this digital bond, 4 years goes in, and I decide, oh, no, I need money. I got 6 years left of interest left. I would take a shave on the remaining part of that interest if I can get some money back today, but I won't lose my principal.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying not to lose principal. I want to work to make sure I don't lose my principal. Keep the interest I've collected, and then
Yep.
what the discount would be of the remaining interest and what I think the market will buy, and I'll just stick it out there in some brokerage firm or whatever secondary market. And I just don't know how that would move because it's such a new product. If I buy this debt, can I move it? Now, somebody out there who knows finances better than I do, maybe should email Joe and be interviewed
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
this
Actually be
digital
interested
bond.
to learn more about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because while the city can talk about the bond there, I mean, there is a whole market for bonds. And as you just heard, one of the things with bond is that your goal is to not lose principal, which generally
Mhm.
does. And yeah, I don't mind losing future interest if I need money now plus my principal. So
Right. Yeah. You don't want to be in the hole, basically. Yeah.
yeah, so somebody out there listening, hopefully maybe contact Joe to be interviewed about how this digital bond stuff works. And whether or not as a bond holder, would I be able to easily, keyword easily, be able to put it back into the market for collecting principal and, give up some future interest.
Yeah, yeah. We just don't have enough information to talk intelligently about it because we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I did look into it, as you can tell, and I was still scratching my head where I was done because it's not, conventional.
Right, right. Good. I don't feel so bad then. There's not just me.
No, no, it's not just you. I was scratching my head about it too. But as I said, interest rates are very high now. As we pointed out, the state is subject to those higher interest rates and borrowings. They're trying to find the best rates, or the treasurer's trying to find the best rates on issuing bonds. But same thing, municipal and county and the various authorities. They all have their own bond ratings, and you can choose your degree of risk if you decide to buy a bond. But I mean, Massachusetts overall is a fairly stable state economically uh on all levels. I mean, I know that there's budget problems all the time in government, but in terms of like paying debt, for the most part, unless you go into bankruptcy like Springfield did and Chelsea did, or the Lawrence school system, we had to go into receivership for different reasons. Lawrence was kind of a quirky. The school system had like real problems. The municipalities will pay their debt. So, but again, I mean, that's your choice. You can decide how to do it. But thankfully, we live in a fairly stable state. I don't remember any authority going bankrupt.
No, that's true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess the biggest example of that would be the city of Detroit years ago, right?
Well, Detroit's a whole scary problem. I mean, Detroit city is huge, and I was watching a documentary on this. It was like the quick documentary of the budget crisis, and yeah, this is the worst case scenario. You lose industry, but more importantly, you're designed to accommodate 1.2 million people, but half the residents are left and
Right.
abandoned property, meaning they're not going to pay their taxes, nor are they going to try to do anything with it. People just upped and walked
Yeah.
away from land. And that was that. So you have, you're trying to operate a city with twice the people or half the people preparing for twice the people you actually got. And
Yeah.
the pension fund hurts you because all those pensioners became a huge liability as you try to downsize city services, but the revenue stream isn't there. Detroit is a complicated horror show in terms of managing a city, and the biggest part is the lack of property taxes because people just walked away. Same
Hmm.
thing down in New Orleans after Katrina, people just walked away,
Sure. Yeah.
and then you had a huge property tax shortfall. Forget income tax, just property tax shortfall. Um, as a result, but if you're trying to maintain an infrastructure because those roads are still there, you still need to patrol those streets because abandoned property is ripe for opportunity for bad things happening. So you still have to maintain an infrastructure for a city landmass that size. Well, with nobody paying taxes inside those empty dead spots. Detroit is not an easy city to manage
Mm.
because of the nature of its population problem. And until I don't know what they can do, because even if the state takes it city takes it all by eminent domain, this dead space, they still got to pay somebody, which means it just adds to the city debt.
Yeah. It's just no revenue coming in, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you got no revenue. You're buying other land. You're now inside a swirly of a spiral
Yeah.
of out of control debt. And that's why they just won't touch anything. I mean, because the first instinct from people, oh, the city should take it by eminent domain. And it's like, no, that starts a whole different spiral of problems when you have no revenue to begin with. It's
Right. Just adding on to the debt, basically. Yeah.
yeah, and it's not all commercial property. It's also including residential property. So it's
Yeah.
you have this patchwork problem. So I mean, you have
Yeah.
to maintain a fire department, for example, to cover the size of the city of Detroit, for example. So if a fire department is ready for a city that size, but you don't have the revenue for it because some of those places they have to prepare for it don't have one living there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's hope it never gets to that point here. Yeah.
I pay too much attention to other things I probably shouldn't pay attention to, but that's the Detroit problem since you brought up the word Detroit.
It's just because it's the most obvious one.
We're gonna go RoboCop.
Yeah. Right.
Those who watch the movie know what I'm saying.
Hey, anything new back in Massachusetts on the migrant issue to talk about?
Nothing's really changed. I mean, we've talked a little bit about the state, particularly the governor's office, trying to find other places, such as using an old prison in Norfolk. Um, Getting information still is really tough.
Mm.
Alice Peisch from Wellesley is the point for us in the House on communication with them. And every time we have a caucus, Alice If there's something that's tell us that's new, Alice will tell us what's going on. If there's not communicating with Alice, and obviously Alice has nothing to tell us. So Lena Peisch is the point person on that. Frustration continues to grow among the colleagues.
Right.
As they try to manage this, they're getting pressure from their local communities, and to try to figure out, what is the plan. And I think that's been the real legit struggle here in this matter. And the warmer months are coming up, so I'm not sure where this is going to take us, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
Because I don't even have a good statistic on flow, and I'm not seeing a news article.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I depend on a newspaper, like, or digital newspaper now, like everyone
Right.
else,
Yeah.
and I'm not seeing a new article out there.
Yeah, nor have I. That's why I asked. I didn't know if you had heard anything or not. So apparently, status quo. I know there was a new welcome center that was opened, Chelsea, I think.
Yeah, it's also, I think, another temporary situation. It's all driven by length of the contract. Same thing in Southie. Southie contracts up this summertime, if I believe. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of short-term contracts right now of private entities for short-term can be up to 2 years, right? I mean, it's a relative word, short, right? But I mean, there are these contracts going out to private entities from the state to be welcome centers, basically transit centers. So it's like the one in Quincy is. It's you come in, you get processed, you stay long enough to find a hotel, and you're in a bus out of here.
Right.
So there seems to be more of that because the processing is very important. And again, I remind folks, you got folks coming in to probably never receive measles vaccine, right? And
Mhm.
much to my shock, kids are not getting measles vaccines anymore around here because people think it's like no longer with us. Well, it's not true. So I mean, the health check is like crucial these days, as well as English status and since they're temporary visa holders, they're eligible to get working papers, and the state is working very hard to process folks to qualify to get their working papers at having temporary visa status. So, there's not imperfect, it's not a perfect system because, anytime we blink and something goes even wrong once, people think, the whole thing's falling apart.
Right.
But it's the best we can do at that level. And, I just don't have a better update because we just have no information.
Yeah. Okay. I know the speaker has said basically states on their own. The feds are just not moving on this at all.
Yeah, which again is shocking in election cycle for House and Senate members down there. I mean, I can't speak for other states, but I mean, obviously the congressional delegation knows that we're the closest to the people and we're the best feedback on what is going on. And we pay the price. I repeat this over and over again to the federal delegation. You guys screw up in DC. I'm the one that pays the price because no one can tell the difference of what you all do and what we do because the news only teaches you guys what's going on, and no one knows how things work in the state unless you watch us here. So please keep up with us now with Joe and I every week regarding how the state works and how it's so different from the federal government. And how come, even we're victimized by the federal government because of the fact that, they do stuff and we pick up the price tag. So, that's part of it as well. We saw this during COVID too, actually. I mean, this is
Mhm.
not just the most recent event. I mean, when you go back in the archive and talk about COVID, we were, left hanging by the feds for long periods until it got really dire and they realized they had to do something.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, historically, the federal government does not provide assistance on their problems to us. Yeah, it's that simple.
Are we going to see you out in the district in the coming weeks, Jackie?
Well, tonight we got the Quincy Asian Resources dinner, so I'll be there tonight because it's still Asian American Pacific Hawaiian month,
Hmm.
APIH, and I was obviously out in the Memorial Day parade last week, and I was at Snugger Harbor School in the morning last week. Went to do the Adam Presidential Library dinner last week, which great recognition for Bob Hale and celebrating the life of Bill Delahunt, and very happy and proud that they got those recognitions. The video on Bill Delahunt was wonderfully done, by the way.
Oh, that's nice.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was very nice. Again, I'm not a honestly, people, I'm not really like a nice tablecloth, big room, black tie dinner guy. It's just not who I am.
More of a
Um,
food truck guy, I think you are, Jackie.
well, given my dietary problems, any food's good, but
Yeah.
I'm not really a gala person, folks. But I mean, it gets part of the job, regardless of my personal personal desires.
Right.
You just got to do it. So, this week, let's see here. We did Memorial Day on Monday. Uh, where was I yesterday? Oh, we did for Sec Day. So as part of AIPH month or AIP month, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. You know, a representative Carmine Gentile from Wayland, a staffer Sri Lankan, and he wanted to do a Versek Day. So we did that yesterday, which is the celebration of Buddha's life, death, and rising to nirvana. And it's actually a lunar holiday. It is the
Huh.
start of the Buddhist New Year. And the calendar is mildly different depending which sect of Buddhism you're in, but it is recognized by like 1.5 billion plus people, right? I mean, the
Wow.
sect is a major religion. It's recognized by the United Nations. So it was great to introduce the State House to Buddhism and the importance of the Buddhist New Year. It's also their Lunar New Year because it follows the Lunar New Year calendar.
No, I
Uh,
didn't know. I'd heard of it before. Interesting.
Yeah, and you may not be aware, you may be aware, there's several Buddhist temples in the city of Quincy, including
Mhm.
on Mass Ave, one down on Quincy Ave, there's one on
Yep.
Robert Street. There's a couple right in Braintree as well.
Yes.
So, you know, there are those temples here. So people not realizing that, but, you know, it's part of the fabric of the city and the state. So, you know, as we talk about, you know, lunar holidays, well, there is a religious holiday built around the lunar calendar in Buddhism. And it's a, you know, top five major religion, right, in terms of population.
Interesting.
Uh, what day is today? Wednesday. Where was I yesterday? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Then I had a Tuesday. I had to go to the Massachusetts Historical Society to give a speech about Asian Americans and history, and I continue to bang the drum a bit on the idea of uh, racism by forgetfulness, in the sense that, you know, they forget you exist.
Mm.
So forgotten and not being part of the group is a real Asian American issue. It continues to be an issue. As a guy in politics, that sometimes does get overlooked every so often. Get a guy that's been around a long time in politics still gets overlooked. Um, you know, the fact that, you know, very little Asian American history is in the books, history books in America, which is why I talk about ethnic studies in the past. I'm not talking about like China or Japan studies. I mean, like people that live in this country.
Mhm.
And, you know, I repeat the statistic from 2001. I mean, in the city of Boston, the survey showed that 77% of Asian Americans believe that there's systemic racism that works against them in the system. Single highest demographic, because the next closest one's in the 60 percentile range for Blacks and Hispanics. So, I mean, again, that important statistic out there, nobody in Boston did anybody. And, you know, us at the state level, you know, work very hard to ensure that our voices are continue to be heard in terms of being part of the group. And that's very important. So that was kind of part of my speech regarding absent historical facts about Asian Americans in U.S. history and how important that is. Wednesday, Oh yeah, Wednesday was we had a couple of fundraisers for Nota Bona and Walter Timothy, and you know, and send my condolences to the Brett family as Seal Brett passed away. Jim Brett's, I think, sister, and Harry Brett's I think Harry Brett's wife, and then his Harry Jr. So that was yesterday. Today is the Quarry dinner. But also I have to go to State House as well to see. I got a tie on. Um,
Yes.
because as part of the State House education, every year we do some education in State House on Asian Americans. We're doing business stuff this time. And actually, I wrote my aunt into this. She actually is one of the owners with her two sons of Low and Sons. Low and Sons provides ergonomic bags. Turns
Oh,
out people know, yeah, I didn't know they had this. I mentioned it to some folks, they're like, oh, I know the product. I'm like, I certainly did not. So, and my, you know, aunt has a wonderful and tragic story of success, you know, just like my father, you know, escaped communist China and, you know, started with nothing, lost everything, and then, you know, had to build a new life.
mm,
And, you know, contrary to popular belief, you know, Asian countries don't have space for other Asian refugees. Sounds a very familiar story,
mhm.
but you know, but it's like crazy when you think about it, but it really is because this is post World War II where like Japan just destroyed everything, like everything's like infrastructure's gone. They got refugees coming in from everywhere, trying to get out of communist China at the end of the revolution, and it's like you could no Americans, this country could never fathom dealing with that. Like, could not even consider the idea they have zero infrastructure and massive number of refugees come in. No, this country will have no idea what that's like.
It's true.
So
It's what happened. Yeah.
yeah, like no infrastructure, folks, like literally destroyed. And you
Yeah.
got refugees flowing in, fleeing communists. So that's the era I grew up in. And very successful, two kids, married a professor in astrophysics who actually discovered a super black hole in the center of the galaxy. His Uncle Fred was the one who discovered that. So he's a big thing in his own field. But
Oh,
yeah, I mean,
neat.
yeah. So part of Asian American Pacific Hawaiian Month, we are doing a little talk today about challenges of Asian businesses, and my aunt started this business much older, um, and the Asian American Business Economic Council is one of the folks coming in as well as other couple of small business owners to talk to staffers and legislators and state houses about educating what the challenge of opening and running a business in the state. And actually next month we can talk about it more, but I'll be at the Asian American Business Economic Council, which is part of the Boston Foundation, to talk a little bit about that with them as well. And for example, 8 out of 10 Asian Americans cannot get capital to start a business.
Hmm. I had never heard that statistic before. Wow.
Yeah, neither did we until they did a survey. And like I said in the past, until someone asks us, how do you know? No one talks to us. Again, the racism of being forgotten, right?
Mm.
So, I know there's a lot of other important issues out there, but when you hear 8 out of 10 Asian Americans in Massachusetts cannot access capital, it scratches your head why. And and also adds to the struggle of opening a business, right? Some folks, are running a strictly cash opening business because they can't get loans. And if you're running like a big business, you can't get like a backer. So, they have to, do their best on being successful while, working on their, tight margins.
Mm.
So we're going to do that. That's coming up. And, when we got some other events in June moving through that, I'll be involved with. So I was telling a friend last night that as I do this longer, I people don't realize I have to hit all these events in Quincy which take priority, and then on top of that, the Asian American, Pacific Islander, Hawaiian stuff also is on the plate as well. And I do have wonderful caucus members who share the work, but since there's so few of us, and I kind of sort of understand what's going on a little bit, these conversations are important. So,
You're in high demand, Tacky.
well, tomorrow we're having a lunch with the Taiwanese Director General, along with the Japanese and the Korean consulates, which I don't have an agenda yet, guys. I'll be honest. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm hopefully going to hit
Okay.
it by end of day today to find out what I'm going to talk about so I can, I don't know, get ready for the conversation.
That's kind of
But
like doing a Tacky Talk.
well, yes. I mean, I actually have to do homework before I go to these meetings. It isn't like just show up. So that's why I have to know a lot. As you guys don't know, I know a lot of random stuff. The reason is because I have to prepare for meetings before I talk about stuff because I just ain't gonna sit there like a lump on a log.
You're the best cocktail party conversationalist.
Oh, and sometimes you throw you a curveball and you kind of have to think about it for a second. So I mean, I got that coming up. Plus, this weekend's Pride Day on
Right.
Sunday in Quincy Center. So, hope to see some folks there. And the Democratic State Committee convention is this Saturday
Well,
and
where's that this year?
Worcester.
Okay.
So I'm going to do a morning trip to Worcester to early afternoon. And, I'm a state official, right? I'm a state rep. So, at minimum, I got to at least go by and, say hi to folks, be seen, talk to some folks what's going on. And, not just Quincy people, right?
Right.
I'm a state representative. This is kind of like a larger component. So, oh, and also did my yard. So yeah, I got like,
Hey.
yeah, I got all kinds of color if you watch me on video. And under my shirt, there's some definitely too much color that I'm
Well, more sunblock.
struggling. Yeah, yeah, strong sunblock, very important, folks.
Well, your neighbors are thrilled. You finally cleaned up your yard, Tacky.
Actually, that's very true. And I had a flower bed that was completely messed up. So actually, I spent quite a few time cleaning that up. And my mom got to get some new flowers in. And I still got to do like the storm door. I got to do this new mnemonic thing. And then I got to do some fence staining. There's a lot of patches. And I got some, because of the debris from all the storms, I got plenty of firewood for the fire pit.
Oh, well, that's good.
So I got to cut that stuff up and stack it. And then, what else? And then, it's again, I mean, I have to do the same stuff you guys have to deal with.
That's
So,
right. Trials
uh,
and tribulations of a homeowner.
well, funny thing is, my mom actually owns the home. Uh, I have no
Well, I
equity.
can't put her out there cutting up firewood, Jackie.
I have no equity, folks. Um, but yeah, no, this weekend was the first weekend where was the best weather we've seen in a long time.
True. Yeah, that's true. So hopefully
So
we
I,
get more.
yeah, do it or lose it, because as you can hear from my schedule from last week going to this week, the opportunity is getting harder. Like I actually got my dry cleaning in last week. I just managed to get it in there. It's just so busy. I was like, I gotta get this stuff to dry cleaning. So my dry cleaner is very patient. One place dry cleaning on across from the Walls and Tea.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I'm sometimes late picking up. Anne is very kind, understanding my crazy schedule. So yeah, I mean, it's just like I look, people, I have like your problems. I have to do all the stuff and I'm always running around and I have to do a lot of it alone. I think I'm a single guy, right? Taking care of his mom. So I got to do this stuff on my own, including all her issues regarding doctor's appointments and getting
Mhm.
her medication, and I have to find specific things for her on the internet. And like one of my good friends from elementary school was kind enough to get her eyeglasses to the house because I had no time to get her glasses. We'd try to schedule a time where we can sync up, or even during Memorial Day weekend, we could find time to sync up with him to pick up her new glasses. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is
Well,
like, guys, when you listen to me, this is like life.
that's it. Yeah, we're all trying to get through. So we appreciate you taking time here at QATV for sure.
Oh, this is like a break in the day for me. You kidding me? This is wonderful.
Joe's like Techie's bartender. He just takes an hour off and just talks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is exactly what this is. I mean, it gives me a great opportunity, and you also compare me to some other folks that you listen to, and and again, it's a free flowing conversation, as you know. We can't say over and over again. This is unplugged and unscripted, and we hope Tacky is very careful in his wording some days, particularly when he's very upset and frustrated about something. Um, but yeah, but this is a great educational tool in my mind, and I like to be able to share some of my experiences. Um, and again, I mean, if you want to ask a question, I mean, you can email over to Joe, or you feel like you have something that you're much better at me at, absolutely email Joe, and talk to her, so you can get some time with Joe to talk about some of these very technical topics that you're happy to be a professional expert on that can talk about it. I think
Oh,
that's
it's
great.
the great thing about local access is we are definitely locally accessible to folks. So don't hesitate. Reach out for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, we talk about stuff, and I sometimes have like I just can touch on what's going on.
Mhm.
But I'm sure people listening, someone here that can like give you like an in-depth explanation that can do it much more succinctly than I can. And and in real world terms, like to me, most of things I talk about is like, what does it mean to all of us, at the street level?
Great.
And we can always talk about global economics and macroeconomics and
Yep.
big picture items too. Put the war in perspective. So I mean, I like the fact that we can do both, where we're just like, what does it mean at going down the street, and we also talk about like the big picture view and where the macro is going. Like we can, like GDP today, was a little lower than expected in terms of real numbers from last quarter. I'm sorry, last month. But I mean, like PCE numbers are tomorrow, and we won't get unemployment numbers for another week.
Mhm.
Um, and those matter. And in case you're wondering, the state's unemployment number is 1% lower than the Fed's. So it's about 2.93%. The Feds are sitting at about 3.8, 3.9, depending on what month we're talking about. So the Massachusetts economy is like wicked strong still.
Yep. Yep. It's
So
basically full employment. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, but at the local level, we also talk about things about the challenge of hiring and the cost of wages and inflation, materials, and so forth. Those are real street problems as well.
Mhm.
So we're always happy to talk as you can hear about big picture items, but also stuff that affects us at home on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah. It's that time, Techie.
Yeah, it's the 617-722-2370, 617-722-2370. That's the number to the office. Feel free to give us a call. We are staff. Just keep reminding folks that I do like in person. Tacky.chan at mahouse.gov, tackey.chan at mahouse.gov. Happy to send us an email. You all know I prioritize constituent services first. And we do our best to see if we can find an answer to a question or problem that affects you in real life. We do have State Representative Tacky Chan Facebook. You can catch up on various pictures of where I've been and see what's been going on. TackyChin.org, which people do use actually to communicate with. They actually use the form in there, to inquire about stuff. But it's really a reference for phone numbers. So we're happy people doing that, as well as MUlegislature.gov. MUlegislature.gov is great for you to look up bills and watch hearings, and there's a whole sign up thing you can do and be notified. So very much encourage that. And obviously, we have at Tacky Chan, and we have like an Instagram account too at Tacky Chan. I think, I'm not sure. As you can tell, I'm just too many of these things going on at once. Don't social media chat me, folks. It's you get to like a certain volume of the stuff, you can't keep up with it. And obviously we prioritize constituents. We do refer people, non-constituents, to to their own representative's office.
Mhm.
And of course, Joe here on QA TV, there's a Joe in the AM as well. To get your quick sound bites of Quincy politics as well as local news, and things that are happening around here. So yeah, plenty of ways to get information, plenty of ways to reach me and Joe, because I think he's my intern now, and unpaid intern. It is summertime, Joe. You need an unpaid internship.
It's been a long time since that happened. But unpaid, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's plenty of ways to get in touch with us as we head into the last 60-ish days of the formal session.
We will next time we talk, it'll be June.
It will be June. Flag Day and Father's Day will be coming up, and we'll blink. July 4th is here.
That's right. Thanks a lot, Techie.
Take care, Joe.